Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ōkami walkthrough. So we've done about half-ish of the amount of stuff that we can do in Sail City right now. So we're gonna try and do the other half, roughly, today. And this is mostly going to involve one particular side quest, which you can see in the title of the video. Yes, if you talk to some of the citizens, they will talk about a thief that has been going around the city called Hayazo, he's basically stolen a load of things. The samurai dandy's missing something. That is how he knows. And there are numerous other citizens throughout Sail City who have also lost something to Hayazo. We're not going to be quite dealing with him just yet. That's going to more so come in the next part, and we can't fully finish that quest until later on in the game when we have more brush techniques. But it's certainly something that we will be trying to deal with. Now, midway through this recording, through this part, thankfully, the brush is going to get itself fixed, because there's a certain little mini-game that just I could not do. It was impossible with the Wiimote acting up the way it was. But here we have Camille and Camellia again. And, yeah, she's, being particularly stubborn about gods not existing. Basically, you can draw the trees at the minute, which is part of what you need to do to get the praise from them. But in order to complete their side quest, you need to be able to do rain, but yeah, we don't have that ability just yet, so I think we'll have to leave it for the time being, don't you think? Now, here, rather terribly, appalling camera angle, but here we have Momotaro, who is actually, I think, a very popular Japanese folktale. And if I just get the information up, I'm sure I'll be proved correct. But for now, we are going to be dealing with Blossom and her father, because this is a side quest that we can pretty much complete right now. So when we got to Sail City, there was a bunch of stuff in the merchant's shop that we bought because we had the money, so did it. The herbal medicine from there is for Blossom and her father, and it's basically the way of healing him, which is great. Although I have to say, I have no idea how this guy isn't dead yet, because I mean, as soon as he gets up, he's just going to look so dead, but he's actually going to end up rather alive. I mean, look at him, he's blue. Like, he looks like a zombie. Yeah, he just goes absolutely crazy. He has another illness which cannot be cured, but, oh, God. So, now that that's done, we will be talking to him outside, but I want to bring up about Momotaro, because we saw him and got a little bit of time before we get to the main bulk of this part. So, Momotaro literally means Peach Boy, and he's a popular hero of Japanese folklore, originating from the Okayama prefecture in Japan. His name literally means Peach Taro, and Taro is a common Japanese boy's name. So, according to the present form of the tale, which is from the Edo period, Momotaro came to Earth inside a giant peach. He was found floating down a river by an old childless woman who was washing clothes there. It's a running trend in fairy tales of an elderly couple wanting kids, finding a child, and so on. The woman and her husband discover the child when they tried to open the peach to eat it. The child explains that he'd been sent by heaven to be their son. The couple named him Momotaro. Years later, Momotaro left his parents to fight a band of marauding Oni, or demons or ogres, on a distant island. Think about the Oni island that got mentioned by Queen Himiko. En route, Momotaro met and befriended a talking dog, monkey and pheasant, who agreed to help him in his quest. At the island, Momotaro and his animal friends penetrated the demons' fort and beat the band of demons into surrendering. Momotaro and his new friends returned home, and the demons plundered treasure, and the demon chief as a captive. Momotaro and his family lived comfortably from then on. Momotaro is strongly associated with Okayama, and his tale may have its origins there. The demon island, Onigashima, of the story is sometimes associated with Megijima, an island in the Saito Inland Sea near Takamatsu, due to the vast man-made caves found on the island. There are apparently some variants, but that's the general gist of the story. And I should probably talk about the minigame that we are doing right now. So there are, I think it's 3 or 4 different citizens around Xi'an City who want to be transported to different locations using the canal system. It's a bit difficult, and I mean, it's at this point that I needed to get my brush sorted, because otherwise this was just impossible, because you need to be gale storming comfortably and effectively to get the most amount of praise. What's particularly frustrating is that I believe if you do this once, you don't actually end up getting... Well, if you fail it, you cannot do it again, or something to that effect. So, you've got to be really on it. And there's a time limit, so you get the most praise, which I think is like 50, if you get them there in the time frame that they want. This is most definitely always easier said than done. Thankfully, I am being slightly cheap and using an Infinity Stone, because I mean, why the hell would I not? It just means that this goes so much quicker, and I don't need to worry about running out of ink, because you're going to be doing a hell of a lot of gale storming to get them across these places. And thankfully, from this point onwards, my Wiimote decided it was going to be absolutely fine. Because I was worried that it was just going to be completely buggered, and I was not going to be able to do any more recording. But it was okay. And it seems that it's 30 praise, not 50. Or something to that effect. So this is the 3rd one. The 4th one is over on the side where Momotaro, Camille, and Blossom and her father are, so we'll get to them shortly. Now let's see if I've got any fun little factoids going on in the art book. No, not quite. So, okay, no we do. So we have about Blossom and her father, with incense on his head and black and white ceremonial cords around his waist. Blossom's father is ready to move on from this life. As a character designed early on, he made an appearance in one of the early title screens. So there's that. We have Momotaro. His face is a monkey. His top knot is a pheasant, and with Amatersau as his dog, he's ready to take on Oni Island. Or at least he was supposed to be. Up until the very last stages of development, Momotaro was free hanging, and his flag read 1 kill per day and had some blood splatter on it. I thought it would be okay since Child's genitals are cute and not grotesque. But then they changed it and put him in a sort of peach diaper thing. Which I think ends up being a lot more adorable. He was actually going to be, like, full size, like, full adult size, but they turned him into a child, I guess, because it was slightly more adorable. And I believe that's... Other than that, that's as far as we're probably going to get in terms of characters for the time being. Because there are no other interesting characters that we're going to be dealing with exactly. That said, we are going to visit some new locations, so I suppose I can discuss them. So, I believe after we're dealt with this particular city dweller, we're going to visit the Money Vault, or, I mean, that's what it's called. When designing a building, we started with the exterior. When it came to time to design the interior, we gave each of the 3D modellers free rein to make it as they saw fit. This process is the very reason why we have very few drawings of building interiors. And that is very, very true. And the other one that we've got is Mr. Chic's house, which we are going to be visiting also later on in this part. So, from the design, I guess you could say business is good for Mr. Chic. Well, I might have already told you about this one. Oh well, if I have, I have. If I have not, well, let's go with it. Most of the mini-games for the city were late additions, so usually we had designed the stage before we decided what kind of game would be placed there. The mini-game for Mr. Chic's house was something I came up with while working on game dialogue, and I'm pretty sure that I have indeed told you guys that one before, but what I don't believe I did tell you is that there's kanji, or at least there's Japanese lettering all over, which has got the symbols for coins, and gold and silver plates all over it, so it's all to do with money. I think that's probably about as far as we're going to get, irritatingly enough. Now, this particular city dweller is easily the most difficult because you got the greatest distance to cover. But thankfully that went rather smoothly. And we got it all perfect, which makes me very happy because I was concerned that that wasn't going to happen at all. Oh well. But now I believe we're going to go to the Money House, because there are a huge number of treasures in here. You can't go in through the front door, it's all locked, but you can cherry blossom into the side, and then you're going to be a hell of a lot better off. But there's loads in here, it's insane. You've just got treasure chest after treasure chest after treasure chest. I mean, in the end, you're kind of stealing from the citizens of Seian City this. To be perfectly honest, I really don't care, they're not using this stuff. And anyway, we're a god trying to help them out. They should be thankful, and also we're selling it to them, so they're still keeping it, it's just that we get some money for our hard work, which we definitely deserve. But yet you can see, there's an insane amount of treasure in here. The thing is that you may not even think to come round and look at this particular house, because you can't get in. You may think, oh, I can't be bothered to run about, but it's definitely worth your while in the end. Especially because there is a sun fragment, and those are always really, really helpful. I believe there is one more chest, which is just up here. And I think that covers everything that we needed to get from here. I think. There may be one more or not? I think my brain's going, have I got everything? Let me check if I've got everything. I think I might have everything. Okay, I think it's time to go now. You can see the logical progression that my thoughts attempt to take, whether or not that actually does make sense or not, it's a different matter altogether. Now, I will point out that with the lily pad people, I believe that you can redo their side quests after the fact if you do complete it. I can't remember the specifics, but either way, if you don't do it to the best of your abilities, you're not going to get the highest possible amount of praise, which is frustrating in the end. Now, I believe that because... oh no, never mind. I was about to say, I believe that because Momotaro is technically a monkey, we can feed him, but no, I don't think that is indeed the case. But what we are going to do, once I return it to daytime, is begin the Mr. Chic side quest, or as it's probably more accurately known, the Fashion Girl side quest. So there's a little girl here who has drawn a bunch of things all around the city, and if you look carefully at it, it's the design that we drew on the piece of paper at the Moon Cave. And you can give her charcoal, and that will basically initiate the side quest. It's another one of those items that you should have bought. Now, this is a difficult side quest. And the reason that I say that this is a difficult side quest is because it requires some very precise drawing. So we've got to go to Mr. Chic's place and draw a star. Basically, because she is fashionable, she knows what's going to be the next hip thing. And Mr. Chic is constantly looking for the next hip thing. So you need to kind of pass that on to him. Annoyingly, these are not easy designs to draw. And sometimes the game will get really, really finicky about what it wants from you. Now, this mention of a ghost is going to be useful to us, because he is involved in another side quest later on. Or at least, he is going to be incredibly useful to us in a particular side quest. I can't remember if he has one of his own. But either way, here's kimono designer Mr. Chic. And I suppose it's probably a reasonable amount of time to discuss the kimono. So obviously it's a very famous element of Japanese dress. And I feel it's probably enough, well, worthwhile to discuss it and its relevance. Now, that is a terrible, terrible star. The way that you'll know that you've done the shape correctly is that he'll say something special might happen. Basically, there'll be red text appear. But you've got to get it very, very spot on to actually succeed. So I'm going to be doing this a reasonable amount, frustratingly. So, the kimono is a traditional Japanese garment. The word kimono actually means thing to wear. So ki is wear, mono is thing, and it comes to denote the full-length robes. The standard plural of the word kimono is kimonos, but the unmarked Japanese plural kimono is also sometimes used, so depends where you want to go. Now, they are T-shaped, as you can see by sort of the way they are laid out, and wrapped around the body, always with the left side over the right, except when dressing the dead for burial. And I believe that that is, whenever he says something like that, that is what you need to know that something, well, that you've done it right and that you can progress. But also with kimono, it's secured with a sash called an obi, which is tied at the back, which is where you tend to get like the bow shape things. and generally worn with traditional footwear, especially zori or geita, and split-toe socks, which are tabi. Today, kimono are most often worn by women, and on special occasions. Traditionally, unmarried women wore a style of kimono called furisode, with almost floor-length sleeves on special occasions. A few older women and even fewer men still wear kimono on a daily basis. Men wear the kimono most often at weddings, tea ceremonies, and other special, very formal occasions. And yes, there's a whole thing to do with the history. This is the Wikipedia entry, so I mean, you guys can look this up yourself. But it's really cool kind of looking at all this stuff, because like, you got this all the specifics for the parts of the kimono. And also all of that. So it's always kind of interesting, at least to me anyway, looking into the history of things. Whether it's, you know, actual real stuff or fake history, just seeing cultural relevance is really fun. I don't know whether you guys agree, but I hope you would do. Now obviously you will have noticed that I've been cutting a little bit around here. The reason that I've been cutting to and from the little girl is that just otherwise this is just a lot of running back to Mr. Chic. And that run gets a little bit dull. And somehow that works. I don't know how, because that's a terrible heart. But okay, I'll let it go. But now we get a really cool design. A V. What's so cool about the V? Well, as you will see soon enough, the little girl is going to call it the Henshin design. And it's definitely a direct reference to Beautiful Joe. Because, I mean, Henshin a go-go, baby! Now, you may think that the V is probably the easiest one to design, but it's not. I mean, it probably is technically easy, but you've got to be on point. I mean, as you can see, like, I'm drawing a V. This is not kind of incorrect. But it just doesn't like it for some reason. And the thing is it gets even worse with what they expect you to draw. Like, the last two are insanely difficult. And yet somehow I'm actually going to do surprisingly well on them. Like, having such trouble drawing a right V, and yet the later ones are going to go ridiculously well. Yeah, I don't know why that V is better than the other Vs I drew. I think because it must have gotten the right distance apart. But, oh, isn't it beautiful? And the Henshin a go-go, baby. So, all of the Beautiful Joe in there. And yes, you see that right, that is 4 circles together. Oh my god. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that this is easier to do in the original PS2 version, because drawing with the stick is actually a lot easier to do than with the Wiimote, technically. The only reason that I'm saying that as a thing is because drawing shapes in the Wonderful 101 with the right stick is a lot easier than actually drawing them, and also surprisingly more accurate. Although that said, I have no idea how you'd be able to do the last shape with an analog stick. That thing is just ridiculous. And somehow, second try on that one. How? I don't know, but I'm okay with it. Because, well, means I don't have to do it that many times. But this is Clover design, which is obviously a direct reference to Clover Studios, who made the game. Ta-da! You didn't get all the Clover stuff already, but this one's ridiculous because it's an actual kanji symbol. Which is just like, oh my god. Now, I believe that the symbol that we are drawing is for heaven. But, look at this. Hardest shape in the game. First try. How? But yes, that is the kanji for heaven, which is quite fitting for the fact that we are God. But I am in awe that that shape went as well as it did. I mean, come on, first try on that thing. I've never done this side quest before in my life. How? Oh well, I guess it's the whole let's play curse slash joy. Which, like, things that are really difficult go well, and things that are easy you just screw up ridiculously easy. But that is almost everything that we can do in Sayan City for now. We've just got a little bit more to do in the next part. We also get a stray bead for doing the side quest, so it's certainly worth it. But I believe we're going to be tackling Hayazo in the next part, or at least as much as we can of his side quest. So that should be fun! Yay!